Anti-aircraft missiles. I just cut the stream and started a new one. We are live. I was on a little bit of a break. I sat down and we had some strikes. Let me get set up here. I wasn't prepared to come back so quickly. All right, you got a notification. Yes, this is real time. We're live. Associated Press camera. I literally just sat back down. Okay, let me get. I just sat back down. Yeah, we are live. You can tell I don't even have my lights on or anything. I just sat down. But why not? LTL and the light today, right? You got a notification? Great. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with notifications lately, but they've been pretty bad. We saw some anti-missile, probably Iron Dome, just a couple moments ago. If you want, I can back up. I'm just trying to see some of the other feeds. Let's see.
It is for maybe like it's not very obvious from here, just a smoke, not very close. It's like civilian. Yeah.
All right, this is a couple of moments ago. I'm gonna go back about 5 minutes ago. I just sat down and I'm gonna go back here 5 minutes and then we'll speed up to real time. Here we go. This is 5 minutes ago. This was about 5 minutes ago, but I'm going to speed up here in a minute so we can catch the live feed via the AP camera. All right, I'm going to go live now. Now we're back live. So that was about 5 minutes ago.
Okay, yeah.
Let's see. Okay. U.S. military lists the jets and ships used in Iran. Okay, I got triple live feed here. I'm going to go widescreen live here. It's in Tel Aviv. Just trying to see if there's any updates on X.
Hi. Hi. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Let me see if there's any more. So I don't know. I don't know if something was hit or struck. I mean, we're seeing smoke on the ground right now. So I don't know if those are blast attacks or was that from the Iron Dome system in Israel. Trying to get some confirmation right now. Let's go back up here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to check 12 News. Let's see. Okay, let's go live
called
here.
the ATACMS. The ATACMS is basically a long-range missile with, the public undeclassified setting is about 300 kilometers reach, over 200 miles, that can impact large areas inside of Iran as well, specifically along the coast. Those are used by the army and are used to kind of deploy and to conduct strikes against, very strategic level assets as well. Other AI systems here, as you see, a lot of these right here, your airborne early warning communications, those are very important for command and control since most of this is being done by the air, both with the U.S. and Israel. You do need those capabilities to do a lot of crosstalk between U.S. and Israeli military. One of the interesting aspects that we've seen that I've kind of noticed is that there's a lot of interoperability between the United States and Israel's Air Force and ability to do joint operations and combined strikes. And that's, generally the United States has that level of experience and expertise with our NATO allies or under NORAD, if you look with the U.S. and Canadian Air Force, where there's a lot of coordination. This latest round demonstrates that the United States and Israel have very deep level of cooperations in air campaigns, and those systems are important. The rest of those, like the P-8s, RC-135s, are intelligence platforms, and then we've seen a lot of assets and jets that are being utilized for strikes and air superiority as well.
That's helpful to kind of understand a little bit more of the scope, but really knowing that it's a more complicated mission, that the United States had to work closely with Israel on this. And so when it comes to sort of military and the not even.
Let's listen here. see if we got any update. Elza says Iranian TV has been hacked, and Bibi was on there talking to the Iranian people. I was hoping they would get, let's see, would get to the TV stations and hope prisons too. Wow. Chasing the feed, thanks for the $1. Appreciate that. Thank you for supporting. Again, we're gonna stay with this. I was taking a little bit of a break, pop back on TV on screen. I was like, whoa. Seemed like everything was breaking loose again. We'll stay with this. I'm going to go back up to, let's see.
Rockets are generally shorter range. They don't have the altitude or the speed. And they were really designed to really help those communities not get overwhelmed by the rockets. The problem that with the Iron Dome is they're not actually designed to intercept ballistic missiles. And so the ballistic missiles to intercept it, if you've seen on the list earlier, there was 2 systems really laid out from the U.S. perspective, which was the Patriots and the THAAD. Right, those are systems that the U.S. deployed into the Middle East extensively because those are the ones that can destroy and intercept Iranian ballistic missiles. The Israelis have other systems such as the David Sling and the Arrow. And what we talk about, and with the drones, what we're talking about from a military term perspective is an integrated air defense system, or an IADS as its acronyms. And what it is basically like an onion with different layers. And all those layers are designed to intercept various different threats. So a rocket, for example, since it's an immediate short term, would be, for example, something like the Iron Dome. Counter drone systems, both lasers or non-kinetics like EW, electronic warfare, that's another layer. And then you kind of go up from there, from Patriots, THAAD, your Aegis naval destroyers, and that's how you destroy a lot of the threats. And that's what Iran has as a threat. It's the ballistic missiles, the drones, and the cruise missiles. And the U.S. and Israel is postured with all those systems to defeat it whenever they're launched against them.
It's interesting to see how all of this now works together when you're talking about an operation. All of the people that are also involved, I have to imagine, to pull all of this off. And so, Stefano, I do want to talk about some of the targets that was also released. This has just also been released and reported on by the Associated Press and Reuters as well. I'm going to put them up on the screen. We can go through them. They're not extensive at this point, but the U.S. military lists some of those targets, including the Command and Control Centers, the IRGC Joint Headquarters, the IRGC Aerospace Forces Headquarters, the Integrated Air Defense Systems, ballistic missile sites. The list continues on to say the Iranian naval ships, Iranian Navy submarines, military communication capabilities, and anti-ship missile sites. A lot to unpack there with some of these targeted sites. Stefano, what sticks out to you from that list? What really is one of the importance of the of the United States and Israel targeting these specific sites?
Well, what's interesting in what we're seeing is the United States is having a focus on the IRGC. So the IRGC is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And so the Iran, how they have their militaries, they have their normal military, which
I was going to do a quick update from CENTCOM. CENTCOM says on Twitter, and that's the U.S. Central Command Center. It says on X, I keep calling it Twitter, such a boomer. I like this post. It says Iran's IRGC claims to have struck the USS Abraham Lincoln with ballistic missiles. Lie. Green check mark. The Lincoln was not hit. The missiles launched didn't even come close. The Lincoln continues to launch aircraft in support of CENTCOM's relentless campaign to defend the American people by eliminating threats from the Iranian regime. So that is an update from CENTCOM. Just listening down here. Yeah, I know. Me too. I always say Twitter. Supposed to get a brief at 4 o'clock today. I'm not sure if the president's going to speak, but apparently some representative from the GOP is supposed to speak today. So I wanted to hear that coming up. A couple live feeds here. Looks like everybody's gone to that wide shot in Tel Aviv right now. We'll continue to listen and update as we go along. Yeah, 4 p.m. Eastern, I think there's supposed to be an update from what I remember. I don't know if it's going to be a written statement or a televised statement. We'll see here. That was what was announced earlier today. Two different live feeds from Israel. We have Fox 4 in the corner. And, of course, my ugly mug to the left. I want to thank everybody for coming in. Again, listen, we're going to have some big changes here on LTL Media. I talked about this in the last stream. But I appreciate everybody coming in. And, we've been finding, we'll see. This time it's better. I asked, did you get my notifications when I go live or drop the video? So 82% of you said yes. 17% said no. Last stream, it was like flip-flopped. 82, like 63% no. And that's just concerning. It's like, what's going on here, YouTube? Let's fix this. I'm waiting to see if there's any brief from the White House. Let me see. I'm going to check their news feed. Nothing today. As of right now, let's see. Briefing or statements. Nothing. But I heard that there is supposed to be a brief from the GOP. I don't know. That explosion in the right-hand corner was in Tehran earlier this morning. Oh, hello, Mama J. It's good to see you. Let's see.
Final 2-minute commercial break of the hour, but much more on these top stories and diving into what we're seeing happening as these strikes are still ongoing in some of the skies over Jerusalem at this hour. After this, stay right here with us.
And let's go out of there. I'm going to go widescreen here. We'll get some sound. Let's listen in. Go here. I'll be right back. Okay, real quick, I'm going to give you a headline here. This is from the New York Times. Live updates. It says Trump willing to talk to Iran as it retaliates amidst U.S.-Israel attacks. The United States and Israel hit Iran with deadly attacks for the second day. 3 American service members were killed in action, the Pentagon said, and at least 9 people were killed in a small Israel city near Jerusalem. Let's see here. A day after a joint U.S.-Israel military operation unleashed on the bombing wave across Iran and killed Iran's supreme leader, the attacks intensified on Sunday, land and sea. Iran launched retaliatory strikes against Israel and several Persian Gulf countries, and the United States reported its first casualties of the conflict. Amid fear and wider confrontation with no clear endgame, President Trump said that Iran's new leadership wanted to speak to him and that he's willing to do so. Quote, they should have done it sooner, Mr. Trump told Atlantic Magazine from his residence in Florida. The Iranian government did not publicly respond to his remarks. So that's kind of where we're at right now. What I heard earlier, we're supposed to be getting a press briefing. Oh, maybe this is it here.
They mean death to Israel, death to America. Israeli and American flags
Thank you.
were painted on roads so they could be trampled. Our flags were burned in public squares. This is not the anger of a radical fringe. It is state-sanctioned hatred. And while those march bar chants echoed, uranium was enriched, centrifuges span, missiles were built, facilities were buried deep underground. It was never just empty rhetoric. It was preparation for action. But today, alongside our ally, the United States, we act to stop it. Israel stands before you today, having acted with the United States to confront and stop an existential threat before it became irreversible. The operation targets nuclear infrastructure, ballistic missile sites, the machinery of repression that fuels terror across our region. We did not act of impulse. We did not act of aggression. We acted out of necessity because the Iranian regime left no reasonable alternative. This joint effort will continue for as long as the threat remains. We thank President Trump and acknowledge the close cooperation between Israel and the US, which has brought the alliance between our countries to an all-time high in peace and in war. Let us be clear about what we are confronting. This regime has built nuclear weapons in blatant disregard of international law and UN resolutions. It has brutally murdered its own citizens and crushed dissent. It's happened now as we speak in cities in Iran. It has expanded missile arsenals and armed proxies across the region. It has openly declared its intention to erase Israel from the map. Now, as it faces consequences, it is launching missiles and drones across the region, endangering the UAE, where a Pakistani citizen, unfortunately, was killed. Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Iraq. As we speak, in the last hour, a rocket targeted the city of Tel Aviv. Civilians, they don't target military bases. Civilians struck a building in Tel Aviv. An innocent woman was killed and 21 people were injured. This is a regime that destabilizes wherever it reaches. It spreads violence outward while crushing freedom at home. It is not reacting, it is expanding. It is a machinery of radicalism that does not recognize borders. Mr. President, diplomacy was exhausted. Iran was required to stop enriching uranium, stop heavy water projects, stop developing nuclear-capable missiles, and allow full inspections. Iran did none of it. Instead, it fortified its nuclear facilities so we cannot get to them, accelerated missile production, and continued to fund terror. Since the last operation in the summer, they spent billions on the proxies. The resolutions were clear. The strategy was just as clear. Delay, delay, delay. But we will not be played. And it's simple what they were planning. They were building the means to corner us, to force an irreversible reality with our backs against the wall. That is not a future Israel will accept. No responsible nation should. This operation is guided by clear objectives: eliminate immediate threats, dismantle the nuclear program, destroy its ballistic missile production, neutralize naval threats, break the proxy network that destabilizes the region. The operation was carried out in order to protect the people of Israel within the framework of the ongoing armed conflict between Israel and Iran, in line with the UN Charter and in accordance with international law. Our forces stand ready to stop extremism armed with nuclear weapons. To the soldiers of the IDF, our boys and girls, my son, my daughter, we salute you. You stand like lions defending our people. An entire nation stands behind you. We have heard the condemnation from few member states, from the Secretary General, but we all know that escalation did not begin today. It began when Iran armed proxies and exported terror, expanded missiles and drones, advanced its nuclear program in violation of its commitments, turned on its own people, beating, imprisoning, executing. Where was the outrage of the UN? Where were the consequences? Now, Israel acts to prevent an irreversible threat, and the condemnation is immediate. This is the definition of hypocrisy. Some call this aggression. We call it necessity. We call it survival. Mr. President, history has taught us never to ignore those who openly call for our destruction. When a regime says it will destroy Israel, when it chants death to Israel, when it promises to wipe Haifa and Tel Aviv off the map, we believe it. We genuinely believe it when we see those hundreds of ballistic missiles that they are launching to Israel. We believe the threats. We do not ignore them. We do not gamble with our survival. We act. Now let me address the brave people of Iran. You are not our enemies. This operation is not directed at you. It is directed at a regime that has silenced you, imprisoned you, and invested in missiles and uranium while your economy suffers. You deserve better. It is this regime, the Basij, the Revolutionary Guard, who have dragged your country into isolation. The world does not fear a free Iran. It fears a radical regime armed with nuclear weapons and driven by extremism. Your future should not be defined by those who chant for death. As President Trump had said, the Iranian people deserve dignity, security, and the chance to shape their own destiny. We are thinking about you. You are seen. You are not alone. The future of Iran belongs to its people. We stand with you. Mr.
All right, so we did want to play out a portion of those comments that we heard there from Danny Danon. He's the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, making those remarks in response to the ongoing conflict. We did want to bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox. We're going to slide away for a quick 2-minute commercial break, but on the other side, we're going to take things back to Capitol Hill. There's going to be an important discussion that's happening this week there for Congress. This, of course, all coming at the same time as GOP members of Congress are expected to be briefed this hour about the ongoing conflict. But we now know that lawmakers are also pushing for a vote on war powers after President Trump and the Israeli nation have launched those initial strikes on Iran over the weekend. We'll discuss that in much more detail after this.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm muted. No, I'm reading an update here. 39 minutes ago, it says breaking: Iranian TV networks are now being hacked to display President Trump with a message to the Iranian people telling them to rise up. Quote, now it's time to seize control of your destiny, to unleash a prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. Wow. I don't know if you can. That's the video of Trump that's playing. It has some statements below it written in Arabic. Wow. Let's see. See if there's any other updates. It says breaking: Iranian drone strikes U.S.-based ammunition warehouse in Iraq. An hour ago, breaking: the U.S. military base in Erbil, Iraq, Kurdistan, has been attacked by Iran. The war is getting no bigger. And now it seems as though the Trump administration plans to continue strikes for weeks more. Please pray for U.S. service members. It's a massive explosion. Let's try and... Okay, let's see. I'm going to go back up
to quickly vote on war power resolutions. This comes after the Trump administration launched those
See what
overnight
this
strikes
update
on Iran.
is.
President Trump launched the strikes without the approval from Congress, and this is now triggering backlash from some Democrats and one Republican as well within the chambers. And so to talk a lot more about what we're seeing here, I want to now bring into the conversation with the Stimson Center, Christopher Preble. Christopher, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start with the very basics. An average American might not be aware of the structure that we have placed here in the United States when it comes to having some of these military strikes happening and also declaring formal war. For them, could you just kind of break down what that looks like within our U.S. Constitution?
Sure. I mean, Americans will be forgiven for not knowing this because for many years, the presidents have not followed the Constitution. The Constitution clearly states that the power to declare war is vested with the Congress, not the executive branch. Article 1 of the Constitution is the first article for a reason. Not only did the founders want the war powers vested with the Congress, James Madison actually said that it was the most important clause of the entire document, that if any president was tempted to take the country to war, it was essential that they had the full support of the American people as represented by their representatives in Congress, both Senate and House. So this has not been honored, unfortunately, for a number of years, but the fact remains that when you introduce the United States into hostilities, that can only be done with the approval of Congress, with their authorization or a formal declaration of war. The president doesn't have that.
All right, as you can see there, as we're discussing this and what happens in the Constitution, as promised here on Live Now, we're now seeing for the first time movement there at Mar-a-Lago, as it does appear that President Trump's motorcade is now heading towards the airport, where we do know that Air Force One is waiting. And so we appreciate you, Christopher, for breaking down what is currently inside our Constitution as it stands. And so you discussed within some of those points. We know that some folks have argued that past presidents have initiated that military action without any formal declarations of war. How is this situation possibly different that we're seeing unfold in front of us?
Well, first and foremost, the president did not even attempt to make a case for why initiating a war with Iran was in the United States' interest. He had ample ability to do so. After all, he just gave the longest State of the Union address in U.S. history. He was able to recognize the U.S. Olympic hockey team. I'm a big hockey fan too, but he should have had enough time to make a case for why the Congress needed to authorize a war, if not a declaration of war, at least an authorization. He did not do that. Since that time, we have learned from a number of senior congressional officials, both in the Senate and the House, that the information that was presented to them by the Trump administration did not constitute an imminent danger to the United States. That is a case where the president might have argued that in order to prevent or preempt an attack against the United States, there was compelling evidence of that. Both Democrats and Republicans have said there was no such evidence presented. There was no evidence of an imminent attack. And so this was not in response or in anticipation of an attack on the United States. This was precipitated by the United States and Israel. It was preventive in the classic terminology as opposed to preemptive.
And that means that those words are extremely important in this context. How does that sort of change how folks maybe view this internationally as well, not just here in our own country?
Sure. Preemption is a legitimate right of self-defense under any definition, whether it's U.S. law or international law, the United Nations, what have you. Any country, when they have credible evidence of an imminent attack, they have the right to defend themselves. They do not have to wait to be hit. But there's been no evidence presented by the president or anyone else in his administration. And again, this has been attested to by people who have had access to classified briefings, that there was no evidence of an imminent attack. There was therefore no justification for the United States striking first.
And so this is what we do have from President Trump that's in his response to some of those questions that have come from members of Congress. He said if we did that about waiting for those operations, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks, and all of this would have not been possible. Of course, we'll continue to hear.
Senator, can I just interrupt? Senator Cruz this morning, Senator Cruz, Republican, was asked this question on Face the Nation and said categorically, I have no indication that the Iranians were anywhere close to getting a nuclear weapon. This is a Republican saying that, not a Democrat.
And so, as we're moving forward and looking at all of this, I have to ask you, Christopher, what comes next for members of Congress? Do they have any tools that will possibly shape how they attribute this in when they're heading back to Washington, D.C. this week?
Right. So first and foremost, they have a constitutional obligation. They swear an oath to the Constitution, just like the president does. Every single one of them have sworn an oath, and that Constitution compels them to vote on whether or not war is warranted. There are war powers resolutions, bipartisan, both in the House and the Senate. The Senate is sponsored by Senator Kaine from Virginia and Senator Paul from Kentucky. The House version is sponsored by Representative Connor from California and Representative Massey from Kentucky. Those
Over the past 36 hours, the United one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now was announced that
Okay, this was I'm sorry, I keep muting myself. This was posted a couple of minutes ago on Trump's Truth Social network. This is a statement from President Trump. I'm going to play this. I'll go to the top here. Posted about 5 minutes ago.
over the past 36 hours, the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced. The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself. Our resolve and likewise that of Israel, has never been stronger. America is now, again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do and the freedom and security is we have done things that others are unable to do. But it's because of warriors who are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies. And they do battle better than anybody. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons, would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen. We're not happening to us, and we're not going to let it happen to others. The United States has the strongest military the world has ever seen. I rebuilt our military in my first term. There's never been a military like we possess. And frankly, there's nobody even close, but we are now using that military for good. We want to have it for good purpose. We're undertaking this massive operation not merely to ensure security for our own time and place, but for our children and their children, just as our ancestors have done for us many, many years ago. This is the duty and the burden of a free people. These actions are right and they are necessary to ensure that Americans will never have to face a radical, bloodthirsty terrorist regime armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats. For almost 50 years, these wicked extremists have been attacking the United States while chanting the slogan, "Death to America" or "Death to Israel" or both. They are the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. We are the world's greatest and most powerful nation, so we can do something about what they do. These intolerable threats will not continue any longer. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country. America is with you. I made a promise to you, and I fulfilled that promise. The rest will be up to you, but we'll be there to help. Thank you. God bless you to our incredible warriors, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
So that was a couple of minutes ago on Trump's Truth Social Network. We'll go back up live. Okay, let's go up in here.
To vote on this question, should the United States be at war again in the Middle East, this time with Iran?
And so as we're watching here, I want to make sure I explain to folks what we're seeing is some of the video footage as President Trump himself is also now heading back to Washington, D.C. He'll be able to have a front row seat to all of this unfolding there in Congress as well. But I also want to also put this up on your screen from Senator Bernie Sanders. He's the independent senator from Vermont, saying this Trump-Netanyahu war is unconstitutional and violates international law. It endangers the lives of U.S. troops and people across the region. We've lived through the lives of Vietnam and Iraq. No more endless wars. Congress must pass a war powers resolution immediately. I do want to ask you, because this leads us to the question, have we seen parallels between this moment and any other previous U.S. military engagements? The first one that sort of comes to mind for myself in recent history could possibly be how folks have viewed what happened there in Venezuela.
Absolutely. There have been cases in the past, including the incident in Venezuela, another military operation that was not undertaken with respect to an imminent danger to the United States. It was an operation that had been planned for a number of months, clearly initiated by the United States, not in anticipation of a strike against the United States or U.S. core interests. So yes, the Venezuela case. in the case of the Iraq war, which I was a huge opponent of, at least President Bush had the sense to go to Congress and obtain an authorization for the use of military force. But President Trump has not done that. And look, let's be clear. Both Republicans and Democrats, both presidents and members of Congress, have shirked their obligations to the Constitution on numerous occasions in the past. That doesn't make it right. This is a situation in particular, when we're talking about a war with Iran, that is so much more dangerous for the United States and for the American people than anything contemplated with respect to Venezuela, just by virtue of the sheer size of Iran and their capability to retaliate. This is not a small operation like President Trump executed against Nicolas Maduro last month in Venezuela.
And so lastly, before I let you go, as we're still watching and seeing if we'll hear any comments from President Trump as he is getting ready to board Air Force One and head back to Washington, D.C. When it comes to international and global standings from here on out, in fact, actually, I do have to jump to this shot. If we can continue to talk, but if we see the president step up and make any remarks, we'll have to listen in there. That would be the first comments that we've heard from him to reporters since all of this has been underway. But I do want to lastly ask you, how will this possibly affect some of the relationships we see between
look at the shot
the
in the
United
bottom.
States and other international partners? We've heard several folks come out in support of this. This includes the Australian Prime Minister.
There's reports
Keir
that there
Starmer as well.
were
Let's
missile
pop up the
strikes
audio
that
here.
struck in Israel today. And that might be
All right, I appreciate you,
on the
Christopher, for
bottom
holding on in
right.
a moment. As we saw, he did not make any remarks. That was what we had been waiting.
Let's go live here. Let's get some sound. I'm reading on X, there are confirmed reports that there have been strikes in Israel that hit today or tonight. Okay, initial reports of 5 people wounded, including 1 mild to serious condition from an Iranian ballistic missile impact in Israel. At least 7 people in Israel treated with MDA for injuries after Iranian missile barrage, and that was 33 minutes ago. That was probably the explosions that we saw about, I don't know, an hour ago. Now it's saying that the UK, France, and Germany considering defensive action to destroy Iranian weapons capabilities. E3 leaders replied, appalled by the indiscriminate and disproportionate missile attacks launched by Iran against countries in the region, including those who were not involved in the initial U.S.-Israel military operations. Iran's reckless attacks have targeted close allies and threatened our service personnel and our civilians across the region. We called to Iran to stop these reckless attacks immediately. We will take steps to defend our interests and those of our allies in the region, potentially through enabling necessary and proportionate defense action to destroy Iran's capability to fire missiles and drones at our sources. We have agreed to work together with the U.S. and allies in the region on this matter. So it does look like UK, France, and Germany are now possibly entering this war. Wow. And that was reported 48 minutes ago. Let's see. Steve's saying it's 11:30 p.m. right now in Israel. Thank you for that update. Appreciate that. Because usually, you know, when these attacks under the cover of night happen. Trying to see if I have any other updates here. Yeah, that was the rocket fire that we saw a couple of moments ago. Okay, so we just saw this video of Trump speaking. Let's go back up if anybody missed
Iran,
it.
the
I'll be right
voices
back.
of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced. The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself. Our resolve, and likewise that of Israel, has never been stronger. America is now, again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do and the freedom and security is we have done things that others are unable to do. But it's because of warriors who are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies. And they do battle better than anybody. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons that would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen. We're not happening to us, and we're not going to let it happen to others. The United States has the strongest military the world has ever seen. I rebuilt our military in my first term. There's never been a military like we possess. And frankly, there's nobody even close, but we are now using that military for good. We want to have it for good purpose. We're undertaking this massive operation not merely to ensure security for our own time and place, but for our children and their children, just as our ancestors have done for us many, many years ago. This is the duty and the burden of a free people. These actions are right and they are necessary to ensure that Americans will never have to face a radical, bloodthirsty terrorist regime armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats. For almost 50 years, these wicked extremists have been attacking the United States while chanting the slogan, "Death to America" or "Death to Israel," or both. They are the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. We are the world's greatest and most powerful nation, so we can do something about what they do. These intolerable threats will not continue any longer. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country. America is with you. I made a promise to you, and I fulfilled that promise. The rest will be up to you, but we'll be there to help. Thank you. God bless you to our incredible warriors, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
All right, that was brand new video that we were able to bring to you here on Live Now from Fox, posted on social media within the last 10 minutes, an official new statement from President Trump in the wake of some of these attacks. We have been watching all of this unfold here on Live Now and waiting for an updated response from President Trump, as we are now getting this live vantage point as well there in Palm Beach, Florida, as the president is departing there, heading back towards Washington, D.C., aboard Air Force One. We do know that the president spent his time as he watched this military operation there at that location in Florida, and now he was able to release this brand new video, speaking once again not only to the folks here in America, but to the people of Iran as well, urging them to be able to pick up the pieces of that government and really toss out the old regime and focus on a new way forward. He also called on the members
live in Israel right now. After that ballistic missile hit today, I believe there was 2 confirmed strikes, what I'm reading. And I just read an update that says Gulf ministers hold emergency session after U.S.-Israel strike on Iran. That was reported an hour ago from Fox News. In the UAE closes their embassy in Tehran. There's a statement that's been put out. They are closed.
כתבים, צלמים, חובשים, הכל, חוץ מפיקוד העורף, כולם. לא לפה, אחורה, מעבר לים, מעבר לקו ססל שם, אתה רואה את הקו האדום? מעבר אליו. מה תקן את זה? אני עיתונאי. סבבה, אם נתן לך אישור, יאמר לך לרדת.
I couldn't even imagine living like this. It's very sad. Super terrifying. Imagine having to live like this pretty much every day in fear.
גבר! קטנוע!
Yeah. Let's go wide again. Let's see. We'll keep these feeds up. I got the sound on the lower right. And this was just after missile strike about an hour ago in Israel. Trying to see if there's any other updates. Here. Let's see. Yeah, I mean it's just like it's everyday normal, you know what I mean? Just seems like everyday normal. It's such a crazy way to live. It's like you're almost conditioned, you know? It's like pick up the pieces and then just move on to the next thing, to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. So crazy. Couldn't imagine. Let me see. If there's any updates. Reading this tweet, it says Iran has directly or indirectly attacked 15 different countries or their military forces. And here they are. You got Israel, you have the United States bases, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, Iraq, Bahrain, Syria, Cyprus, Oman, France, Italy, and the United Kingdom. Italy and Kuwait. France via the UAE. And then the United Kingdom in Cyprus. 15 different countries in some form or fashion have been attacked. Or you're welcome, Shannon. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe. Let's go to the big screen and see what we have. Let me get some sound up at the news, Fox 4.
Since
Let's
that
see.
initial video was released, it was about 8 minutes in length, and the hour after those attacks initially happened overnight on Saturday. And so I do want to put this up on your screen from Aisha Hasni there
Thank
with
you.
Fox News saying this.
Are you new?
President Trump releases new video address and says, "We grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. And sadly, there will likely be more before it ends." We do know that President Trump also said that the entire military command is gone at this point as a result of some of those strikes. We had seen some of that reporting happening earlier today from some of our different sources with Reuters as well, talking about the specific members of the Iranian chain of command that had been killed as a result of these strikes. And so much more to still uncover at this hour. We'll continue to wait for those updates as they're also coming to us here. I do want to show you this as well. It's a live look that we have of the U.S. Capitol building. We're continuing to keep our eyes there in Washington, D.C., because we do know that there is an all-House member briefing that is scheduled to begin in just about 20 or so members.
Okay, great.
They're going to be meeting on the Iranian strikes. It includes several top members of President Trump's
Hopefully that's
cabinet,
live,
including
and we'll cover
Secretary
that
of
here.
State Marco Rubio and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth expected to speak, as well as Kane and Ratcliffe also in attendance. Not sure if they will be speaking at this meeting, but we'll keep you updated as the reporting is going to continue to
At
come out
5,
in the next few
about
hours following
12
some of
minutes
that.
from now.
We're sure also to hear some responses from members of Congress on their own social media pages reacting to what they hear in this briefing. If any of them also decide to put out video messages or step in front of a camera and hold a press conference, we will also bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox. And also in the next few hours, once President Trump, since he has now departed from Florida, he'll be landing there in Washington, D.C. Once he lands, if he's able to talk to any of those reporters and we get any feeds from that, we'll also try to bring that to you here on Live Now. In the meantime, President Trump is not the only leader that we've heard from today. We've also heard from members of the IDF talking about their angle and their participation and some of these strikes that have been happening there in the region. I want to play that out for you in case you missed it here on Live Now from Fox. Very brief comments, just about 3 minutes in length, but continues to kind of add some color to what we're watching unfold. We're also hearing a question and answer portion as well here. Let's listen.
First priority, please, again I stress, listen and follow the instructions of the headquarters of the river. Act responsibly. It saves lives. You must know your backing of us. This is our backing. You are the secret of our strength. Together we'll be able to meet every challenge. We'll continue being here with you and update you with every development. Questions?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Shannon. Great.
Channel
Thank you.
13. Can you tell us if staying in the bomb shelters is still nevertheless a good idea? Yes, absolutely yes. I care to all you.
Okay, let me give everybody a little bit of update if you're just coming in or you're just coming back. And I know this is not like a hot topic on my channel. I know a lot of people don't come for wartime coverage, but as I said earlier today in my previous stream about, an hour, 2 hours ago, we're going to be doing some changes here making some changes here on LTL Media. This is kind of how I've always thought that this channel should be, and what I always wanted it to be, kind of breaking news, updating coverage, in the moment type of coverage. This is a very important subject, at least to me, and I hope it is to all of you, of the current state of our world right now. And these are the type of things that I've always, I've wanted to cover here. Breaking stories, very important news. I'm not specifically just saying like it's going to be a political channel now. I don't see it being that at all. But just breaking news stories that are around the world, and that's kind of what I've wanted to do here with the multiple screens and bringing in all these feeds so we can see what's happening, because we don't have the ability to do that, to see what's going on around the world, because we're not there. So anyway, as of right now, what's going on? President Trump just made a statement about 10 minutes ago, talking about the progression of the war at this moment and what his plans are and what America's plans are in this war. Essentially, that he's saying that everything is going as planned, and they will continue to strike Iran and support the regions in and around Iran. Also, there's supposed to be a briefing on Capitol Hill in about 15 minutes where U.S. lawmakers will speak about the war in Iran. I'm not sure if that's going to be televised. If it's not televised, I do know that there will be cameras there. So if anybody comes out and they want to comment, we can hear that. So I'm going to continue the live coverage here and, keep trying to do some updates. I've been fielding off of news websites. Obviously, we have Fox 4 here live to give us some updates. And also I've been scouring X to do these updates as well too. So let's do this. Let's get some sound here. In the bottom corners, I have 2 live feeds of Israel. Let's go back up here to some live.
For a quick 2-minute commercial break.
Thank you so much.
President
Appreciate
Trump
it.
also during that about 6-minute speech that he released on social media,
Wow.
saying this: the U.S. will avenge the death of those Americans. This, of course, comes as 3 American service members were killed in the operation there that between the United States and Israel. Those strikes on Iran will continue to keep you updated with the very latest. We do know that 5 service members were also injured in that as well. Let's slide away for a quick 2-minute commercial break. On the other side, we'll be listening into new remarks as well that we've received internationally from UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. He did release a short video as well on Saturday in response to some of these attacks. We're hearing from him once again. Another short video, about 5 or so minutes in length. We'll play that out for you when we return. Stay with us.
All right, let's take pause here. I'm just going to go live to one of the feeds here, the AP feed. We'll get some sound. Let me shrink me down in the corner, and we'll just wait. I'm going to scour X at the moment. Okay, we're just getting an update here via X. Chillinois says, UK Prime Minister accepts request by the United States to use bases for strategic military action against Iran. The UK Prime Minister is allowing the United States to use bases for strategic military action against Iran. Also seeing a report here, about an hour ago, an intercepted projectile falls into the sea near Dubai's Palm. Wow. Let's see. Okay, let's see. New foreign ministers of the Gulf Cooperation Council, that's the GCC, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates say they are, quote, reserve the right to respond under Article 51 of the UN Charter. About an hour ago, I get another breaking report. Breaking: 22 violent pro-Iranians shot dead for storming the U.S. consulate. Violent clashes between protesters and security forces in Pakistan, southern port of Karachi, and in the country's left of at least 22 people dead, more than 120 others injured in a demonstration in support of Iranian government attempts to storm the U.S. consulate on Sunday, authorities said. Let's see. Friend in Dubai says there's a lot of noise in the sky. Wow. Can you hear me now? Is that better? Let me know if that's better. I might be unplugged here. Hang on. That should be a little bit better. Let me know if that sounds better. All right, we saw that earlier. All right, let's just keep these live feeds. Here you. Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. Let's see if we have any other updates. And we're waiting to see this brief, the lawmakers' brief on Iran. This is supposed to be an update on Capitol Hill, but I'm not too sure if it's going to be televised or what's going to happen. So, oh, you were 15 seconds behind? Let's see. Lots of action in Tehran right now, from what I'm reading. Just trying to see here. That was Pakistan earlier today. They tried to storm the consulate. Hello, Gail. How are you? Welcome in. No, it's going to be no 8 o'clock stream today. We've been streaming all through the afternoon. And I think I'm going to be changing Sunday nights because um it just I just think that we need to change up. So I don't know. I think maybe we're just going to do some coverage during the week, or if something breaks. I really haven't made my mind up on that yet. So I haven't made my mind up, but we're here now. We're trying to do some live updates. I'm just kind of scrolling through X at the moment. So we have trending in the political hashtag Iran war is trending right now. Let's see. U.S. Central Command. So this is wow. Here's a list. The first 24 hours, the U.S. assets employed: two B stealth bombers, Lucas drones, Patriot interception missile systems, the THAAD anti-ballistic missile systems, F-18 fighter jets, F-16s, F-22s, A-10s, F-35, EA-18G electronic attack aircraft, airborne early warning and control aircraft, airborne communication. I'm just watching the screen here. Let's see. P-8 maritime patrol aircraft, RC-135 aircraft, MQ-9 Reapers, M142 high mobility artillery rocket systems, nuclear powered aircraft carriers, guided missile destroyers, counter drone systems, refueling tanker aircraft, refueling ships, C-17 Global Master cargo aircraft. We have a C-130 air cargo aircraft and special capabilities we can't list here. Let's see. Just reading a crawl from the New York Times. Wow. We saw this speech earlier. I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen up on Capitol Hill. Missile alerts going off in Israel now. Okay. I don't hear anything. Aha, here we go. Let's go widescreen. Let's see. That's a horn. Maybe a little bit behind here. I don't hear anything. Let's go here.
On Iran's missiles and their launch sites as well. Starmer said today that Iran was striking at the British and its allies, and that these interests are now intersecting. So we did want to make sure we're able to bring you that update here on Live Now from Fox. Other world leaders are also now responding, taking to their X accounts to talk about what we're all watching unfold. As you can see, this is there from Emmanuel Macron. He is the prime minister there in France as well. He did say that France will be sending 2 warships to the Red Sea in the coming days to join the European Union naval mission because of the security concerns of the war in Iran. That was according to an EU official as well, saying this happened after emergency talks between foreign leaders as well. So we'll continue to keep you updated as those responses come in. And then lastly, I do want to put this up on your screen. This is breaking news there from Bill Malugin with Fox, saying that this Fox News has just learned that Speaker Mike Johnson has announced that on that House GOP conference call that the House will be voting this week on DHS funding again. And there will also be a House vote on a war powers resolution on Iran, likely happening on Thursday. So a lot to look ahead to here in Washington, D.C. and around the world as we're still watching the aftermath of these joint attacks that happened there with the United States and Israel on Iran and retaliatory strikes happening in the aftermath. We'll continue to keep you updated here on Live Now from Fox. We're going to slide away for our final 2-minute commercial break. Stay right here with us. More news after.
All right, let's go live here for the moment. Let's see. I want to see if there's anything updated on X. Oh, thank you, Jody. I appreciate that. Jody says, I hate it when you have to watch mainstream news, so I'm so glad you're covering this. Thank you. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, turn on your bell notification. I would appreciate it. And we try to do the best, listen, I'm not perfect at this, but try to do the best I can and give everybody the most current updates. I like to chase. I like to chase down the information and get it in real time. That's what I've always loved about doing this stuff. If I have an opportunity to kind of chase down, some things or alerts that you might not see or hear. I've always liked that. Yeah, is getting some reports from a former CIA. Let's see. Says this, quote, if they think they're going to win without a ground war in Iran, they're deadly wrong. Dr. Michael Schneider, ex-CIA head of bin Laden counterterror unit, speaks to RT. And he says, quote, Trump has cost himself dearly. So that's one opinion. This is interesting. Let's see. The CEO of Telegram, Pavel Durov, I think that's how you say his last name, says, unfortunately, I had to leave Dubai for Europe a week ago, so I'm not the only missing, not only am I missing the free fireworks from Iran, but also exposing myself to greater risk. Given Europe's crime rates, Dubai is statistically safer, even with missiles flying. Can't wait to be back. And then Elon Musk responds and says, no country is perfect, but Dubai and the UAE broadly are objectively safer, better run than many areas of Europe. And that is what Elon Musk is saying. Another update here. 5 minutes ago, the United States and Israel have hit more than 2,000 targets in Iran so far, according to the U.S. official NYC. Okay, we saw Trump speak earlier. I'm just going to stay with this live feed. Let's see. Looks like an airport in Iraq was hit today. Quote, powerful explosions. It was reported 5 hours ago. Tehran was hit in a wave of attacks in the heart of its city. That was reported about 6 hours ago. Let's see, breaking. IRGC says ninth wave of attack has begun and that the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln was targeted with 4 cruise missiles, resulting in it moving to the Southwest Indian Ocean. Interesting. That's maybe why they're asked Europe to use some of its military bases. It could be. Let's see. Let's go widescreen. We saw that earlier. Let's see. 8 countries. Jonathan saying 8 countries. Let's see. Iran has also attacked U.S. military bases. Yes. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Let's see. Okay, so it says House of Representatives to receive Trump's administration briefing on Iran Tuesday afternoon. News: Trump's administration official will brief all House members on Tuesday at 5 p.m. per the invite sent to members obtained by MSN News Now. Let's read this. The briefer, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Joint Chiefs of Staff and Chairman Dan Kane. So that'd be on Tuesday. And then we had 2 minutes ago, Fox News reporting live updates. France, Germany, and UK condemn Iran strikes, warn of defense action. So it looks like France, Germany, and the UK may be joining the war. Let's go back up. We saw that Trump speech earlier. That was from earlier today. And then the trending now post on X is Iran launches wide-range missile strikes across Middle East after leader's death. We're at about 5:10 Eastern Standard Time right now. We saw that earlier. Heather, thank you so much. Yes, those are all the bases that have been hit. Look at this. Watching from southern British Columbia, Canada. Well, thank you so much. Oh, look at this. Another Canadian. Our Canadian friends are watching today. Let's see. Stephanie says your calming voice makes it awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's nothing ever fun about war, but this is the world at its moment. And I said this yesterday in a tweet. I said, I pray for Mother Earth. I really do. And when I say that, I pray for obviously the earth itself, but everything that's on this planet. And no one wants war. No one wants war. It's just bad all around. It's just bad. Well, I talked about that earlier today, Heather, and I actually threw it into AI, and I asked the question, are we heading towards a World War III? And it said that, the possibility of that happening at this moment in time is very, very low. very, very low. And it's just going to all see how this shakes up. I think this is going to be very contained to the Middle East, but I do think that we're going to have some sleeper cells that pop up here in the United States to create some violence. And we just saw something last night that is being investigated by the FBI at this moment in Austin, Texas. There was a shooting. I think there was 14 or 15 people killed and a bunch of injuries down in Austin, Texas, in a very populated area in kind of like a bar district. And you can read about that story. But the FBI now is involved. And apparently this individual that had been shot had some inklings of maybe being tied to some type of retaliatory thing because of the war. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I don't know why people aren't getting notifications off the channel. I really don't. It's been pretty annoying. But I would just say this: unsubscribe, resubscribe, and then turn all your bell notifications on. YouTube tends to do this to some of the channels every once in a while. And I just tell people, unsubscribe, resubscribe, turn your bell notifications on. And that's why I've been running these polls at the top of the chat. Now, this poll looks a lot better. Are you getting my notifications when I go live and drop a video? 74% say yes. 26% say no. But on my previous stream about 2 hours ago, people are saying like 70% of the people say, no, I'm not getting your notifications. So it's very, very broken system. And that's something that has been very annoying about YouTube. And they always say, they only allow 3 notifications in a 24-hour cycle, which is very annoying. It should just, it should just alert the person that subscribed to the channel. And they say, well, we don't want to bother them too much. Well, look, if we have content that's coming out and it's very important, we want those notifications out there. So it says, Gail says, it concerns me that countries in Europe are considering joining the war. Yeah, this is going to get, turn into something really big here pretty soon. Let's go back up here.
400 vessels were hit and several hundred merchant mariners were killed. Unfortunately, economics is going to play a big factor here. And sooner or later, we're going to see ships start heading back through the straits, whether this conflict has stopped or not.
And how quickly does it happen that obviously some of this goes on? 20% of the world supply of oil there goes through this very narrow channel there. How quickly does it disrupt all of those supply chains?
Well, it's going to have a disruption right off the bat. I mean, I can expect Monday you're going to start seeing oil prices begin to spike. But one of the factors we really need to think about is the world supply of crude carriers. These are the large tankers that carry crude oil is already diminished because of so many of those vessels are in the sanctioned or the dark fleet. They can't do operations around the world. They're really restricted. What this means is already we saw the price to charter these very large crude carriers, these super tankers that can carry, over 1 million or 2 million barrels of oil, expand 3 times from $50,000 a day to $150,000 a day. And so what we can expect to see, unfortunately, is the gasoline market, diesel market is going to react to that. And we're going to start seeing prices come up. Big thing to remember is a lot of that oil that comes out of the Persian Gulf heads to East Asia and South Asia. That's really the big claimants for that oil.
Yeah, I was going to ask you exactly where it comes from and where it goes. Can you get into the specifics, just how vital this is and where it starts and where it ultimately ends up?
Sure. I mean, the biggest consumer of it is China. China consumes almost 1/3 of the oil that comes out of the Persian Gulf. And that's a country we're really not talking about a lot here. But they have a massive impact if all of a sudden this oil is choked off from them. You got to throw in there Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, and India in particularly, too. Another country that gets a lot of that oil out of that region. Now, several of the countries in the region have some alternatives. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, they have some pipeline systems that allow them to move oil without going through the straits. Iraq can go through their northern pipeline, but the oil in southern Iraq, in Kuwait, in Bahrain, Qatar, and the eastern side of Saudi Arabia and parts of the UAE have to come through the Straits of Hormuz. And really the one country that we need to talk about that's going to be the most impacted by a shutting down of the Strait is Iran. Iran absolutely needs
I'm going to go
this
back
oil
to it
flow
too.
to fund their economy.
And when we're talking about this, obviously Iran there, Oman on the other side of it, if we're talking about insurance, talking about protection of the Strip, who's in charge in that way? Is it the nation that they fly the flag of? Who potentially could be protecting these? And how much is the U.S. kind of monitoring that, potentially protecting some of these ships moving through?
Well, we know that U.S. Central Command through the combined
Sal, you still with me? We're having a little tech issue right now. All right, it looks like we may have lost Sal, but nope, I think you might be popping back up.
Information Center is having an issue with providing enough assets and security to really escort vessels in. So right now, they're focused on strike missions. They're focused on their ability to attack. Defense of ocean shipping is not really primary yet, and it's really going to depend on how long this operation continues.
Yeah, that is obviously a little bit there of concern. I do want to ask you another component to this, because we're talking about how the U.S. is striking Iran different targets there in the region. They've also said, this according to the president on social media, that they've informed that they've destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian naval vessels. So that was here on social media about this, and we're going after the rest. They will soon be floating at the bottom of the sea. How prominent of a navy does Iran have, and are ships concerned about them potentially being targeted or kind of in the midst of what's going on with this conflict and a war?
So the Iranian Navy is a very small Navy, but they do have some ability to cause threats, and particularly their submarine force, which is a bit outdated with 3 older Russian Kilo submarines. Their smaller vessels are really more toward harassment. You may remember a few weeks ago that a U.S. flagged tanker entering through the Straits of Hormuz came under harassment from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. That was met immediately by a U.S. destroyer and U.S. aircraft coming overhead. So eliminating the Iranian Navy is a big threat. I think one of the big concerns that if I was concerned about the Iranians closing the straits or interdicting trade is being able to get out there and lay mines. Mines are the ones that are going to be the biggest problem if they ever do that. We saw the use of mines during the very end of the tanker war in the 1980s and led to the damage of U.S. frigate, the Samuel B. Roberts, and actually led to Operation Praying Mantis, which was the last time the U.S. Navy targeted the Iranian Navy.
I was going to ask you about how Iran would actually close this. You mentioned kind of those assets that they might put out there. Is there anything else that ships, vessels are monitoring in that area?
Well, I mean, you have shore-based missiles, obviously, is going to be a big issue, so they can do those style of attacks. The mines are really the great interdiction operation that comes out, because mines are blind to whoever ships are out there. And it doesn't take actually any mines to create a minefield, just a threat of mines. And then you have to sit there and take the time to get rid of them. And that's a very slow, laborious process. The U.S. and the British have reduced their mine sweeping capabilities. The U.S. have just deployed 3 new littoral combat ships to the area with mine sweeping gear on board. But what it would do, what the mines would do really is not so much be a threat to shipping as much as slow everything down. And that causes the economic impact to the Western nations and to the, basically the first world, where is very dependent on the export of that oil out of Iran to fuel their economies. And it's a definite last-ditch move by the Iranians to do that. It really depends on how much Iran wants to ratchet this up in terms of the oceanic fight that's taking place right now in the Persian Gulf, the Straits of Hormuz, and out in the Arabian Sea.
How much of it is a priority for the Trump administration, for the United States, for the global world economy, to make sure the strait is open? Where does it rank, obviously? How high of a priority should it be?
I think, in terms of our trade, we don't get as much oil from there, almost any right now. We've become very energy independent, which means we don't do it. But the rest of the world, and I mentioned East Asia, South Asia, also Europe gets it. Whenever you cause disruptions in a global commodity market, doesn't matter where it's located, it has an impact globally, and it's going to resonate across that. And so I think for the U.S., it's extremely important to get that pipeline back open into the Persian Gulf, to get the straits clear, to make sure that ships can begin to pass. I expect Monday morning we're going to see very busy work in London and across the world in the maritime insurance offices, getting new insurance brokered for these ships. And I imagine there'll be some coordination with the U.S. Fifth Fleet and commands in that area to start reopening the strait, start sending ships back through.
What signals are you looking for? Because you mentioned some of these ships are sidelined; they're almost kind of put off on the parked on the side of the Strait of Hormuz. What signals are you looking for that you'll see to have them go back and start some of the pathways moving to and fro as they might before? Is there anything that you're keeping your eye on in that regard?
Yeah, watching right now the number of basically empty ships inside the Persian Gulf. There are a large number of ships that come into the Persian Gulf and then they kind of sit and wait to fill up in the berths throughout the Persian Gulf. So as those numbers begin to decline, that becomes a bit of an issue because there's only so much shoreside storage areas to do that. They're eventually going to have to start coming out and start bringing in empty vessels
Thank you, Heather.
into the area. I'm watching actually the
22
Iranians
months.
in the Carg Island facility. They are still loading tankers there. So, I mean, that tells you right there that they envision that they're going to be able to move oil tankers out in the near future. So really, I expect here in the beginning of the week to start seeing some ship movements through the straits again. Again, the Iranians have not closed it. It's just literally the shipping companies have decided to kind of take a break, wait a minute, let things kind of settle down. Hopefully there'll be a resolution, but if not, they're going to insure themselves and they're going to head through the straits.
Yeah, they might be back to business as usual, no matter what else is happening. Sal, anything else you're keeping your eye on? It's so fascinating to talk about this. What else are you monitoring right now?
Well, I think the big issue there was that issue I mentioned to you before about the dark fleet. I mean, you're seeing how the energy market, especially in tankers, is being targeted. The U.S. has seized, over 10 tankers from Venezuela. We've just seen several tankers being seized by France and other countries from the dark fleet. This is a very big issue. There was an interesting move by a company called Sinocor out of South Korea, along with Mediterranean Shipping Company, to really corner the market on VLCCs, these very large crude carriers. And I think this is really raising a lot of people's awareness to how important energy distribution is on the high seas, and why, again, goes back into something President Trump has talked about with the recently released Maritime Action Plan, why the United States really needs to start creating its own domestic fleet, shipbuilding, why it's really a huge national security issue when it comes to ocean shipping.
Yeah, and obviously it takes time to kind of turn out some of those boats and make them viable for the high seas. Sal Mercogliano, thank you so much. I appreciate your insight as always here on Live Now.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, thank you so much. All right, great conversation about what to expect as Iran threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, ships and vessels, they're just kind of sidelined, parked, awaiting any movement in terms of what's going on. But it is so very critical to different world economies, that oil-rich area in the Gulf. As the Strait of Hormuz, tankers are hit, 3 U.S. troops killed, the shipping giants, they halt Gulf transit right now, and 20% of the global oil supply hangs in the balance. A live picture right now there in Washington, D.C., and this likely on the minds of President Trump and everyone else in the world about what's going on in some of those supply chains and the implications this disruption has. I'm Andy Mack. We're back after this.
All right. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to pop out for a little while. I'm going to take a break. I've been streaming like almost 6 hours today, kind of a couple split streams. I'm possibly going to come back tonight and do some coverage probably at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to keep an eye on all of the feeds. If anything pops up or pops out and something needs to be reported instantaneously, I'll come back. But as of right now, I'm going to take a little while off. Probably going to be back at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, do some more streaming and updating. Going to give this a couple hours and see what happens. Like I said, if anything pops off, really that needs some attention or some reporting, I'm going to jump back up. I'm going to grab some dinner, eat something, rest a little bit. And again, I'll be back here probably 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come check back. Yeah, absolutely. Nice seeing you here. Thanks for being a member. And I'll catch up with you guys probably in a couple hours. Again, if anything happens, it needs to be reported right away, I'll jump up for you. But thanks for watching this afternoon. Everybody get out, get some rest. If you're in and around this war-torn area, please be safe. Hopefully we get to this to a peaceful resolution at some point here. But I think we're going to be in for a little while here. So nice to see everybody this afternoon. I'll pop back a little bit later. If you're new here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you're not getting my notifications, unsubscribe, resubscribe, turn those bell notifications on. Maybe you'll get a pop-up next time. YouTube can be a little bit weird in that respect. All right, I'll see everybody in a little while. Let's get some rest, refuel. We'll come back and do some live coverage here in a couple hours. If I can find my outro video. All right, everybody, be safe. Please be safe. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.